good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are right now. Big warm welcome, the audience, to a new generation of women. And I'm Janine van Zenos. It is so good to also do a podcast once in a while. I'm still sitting here in my yoga outfit with my braided hair, a good cup of green tea next to me. And the lights are slightly dimmed, imagining Nora Jones in the background singing. So you can hear it's evening time in Munich and it's afternoon in New York, which brings me to my beautiful in body and spirit, sensitive, strong, simply wonderful upcoming guest. I know her already since a few years, but when the lockdown happened, we got to know each other so much better. While I was going through I would say a few minor tantrums. My guest was the most peaceful person I know who just seemed to sail through the lockdown with such grace that I felt so bad about my managing coping mechanism strategies during the lockdown. But when I look back, so much new started that I would have never done without the lockdown. So when we go through transformation, it happens so often that only when we look back, we see the good what happened. And we are still globally transforming. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the wisdom and into the power of transformation because it doesn't feel comfortable very often while we're in it. But there are also some really light and highlighting parts that I so value about it. And mainly because now I know when I'm out of it or out of the passage, even if it feels uncomfortable, it's like almost a contrast. And when I come out, there's something beautiful coming up. So let's talk more about beauty and the beauty of transformation. Hello and warm welcome from Munich to New York. Hello, Tina Guthknecht.
Hi, Janine.
Hello. Before I stop talking, I want to say why I chose this podcast version. Because we have left a few WhatsApp messages during the last month. And I was always so happy when I would wake up in the morning and I could listen to one of your messages. And it sounds so corny, but it was almost like listening to an angel. And it made me so happy. It was deeply touching, even when I felt exhausted or when I felt down. Listening to your voice messages gave me such boost of pure and good energy. So this is why I wanted to do a podcast with you. I thought it's more intimate and it's also that other listeners can hear the quality of your voice that is so much deeper than and also it just doesn't take you away from the pureness of the messages. So that's why. Coming back to
Beautiful.
coming back to you, when I open your website, there is the first sentence that appears is, don't believe in what you see, believe in what you are. Who am I? Tina, who are you? We want to go to the core of what really matters. You
just go.
we don't want to don't spend
You
waste
go.
too much time on the form. No, of course we go into the form, but let's go inside out. Who are you?
Well, this is one of the most valuable questions one can ask oneself. And for me, I keep on asking myself this question. And it is so valuable because it takes you straight, or it takes your focus straight back to yourself and into yourself and away from what's going on outside and from the mind, the ongoing chattering of the mind. And yeah, if you listen deeply and continue to listen deeply, you can discover that not as a theory, but truly you are not the chatter of your mind. In fact, you are not your mind. You can discover a deep, deep silence, and a silence also that you are and that everything is, and that connects you with everything, and just enter a different quality of being. And that's what everybody can do, actually. Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit of an unfair question because usually you go into a meditation or you go into stillness and calmness. You really go inward and you unwind. I would ask sometimes managers when I do business and ask them, so I give you 10 minutes to tell me to introduce yourself, not in the normal way, like, this is who I am with my kids, with my hobbies. and I give them the keynotes. Who are you if you're not your hobby, your partner, your
Exactly.
company, your gender, your kids, your education, your salary. And then you hear silence. And then I look into the room and said, yeah, that's the first crisis coming up, isn't it? So
Exactly. It's like, what?
they really look at me. And then I give them a hint. I said, tell me a story. Tell me a story that symbolizes who you are. Is there a story that comes up for you? If you, beyond the calmness, um, something that you would say that is really a symbol for who I am or a metaphor for who I am, that might be a story that my soul tells me.
Well, what immediately comes to mind is exactly what you basically just described, because this thing, who am I exactly without my name and without everything I put on myself? That was my crucial point. Realizing in the moment, when you wake up, you realize, actually, if everything drops away and you realize what you have built upon you, and that is something I will never forget. When I had
Hmm.
my spontaneous awakening, it was in 2004, and this kind of hit me out of the blue, and I was really on such a career track, and I had all these ideas. What are my next steps, and what do I have to do to be successful in this world, and speaking so many languages, and have lived in these countries, and have worked then there, and all these things that we believe lead to something. And then in this moment you realize, hold on a second, nothing of that is is actually who I am. And um, so, as a metaphor, it's just that this became the most important journey of my life. And this is what you know, I'm interested in truth. And this is really, this is the most important thing in my life. And also in my encounters and in my relationships. And yeah.
I can so relate to that. My mentor said once to a partner of mine, and he said, "Oh, Janine, don't ask Janine. She's only interested in the truth." And that's so real, because I get very easily bored if I hear people performing or behaving, or if I have to join a community that is just not people joining, and if there is just a way of everybody is still in a performance mode or trying to hide. And I'm really interested in the truth. And if people are brave enough and bold enough to talk what's really happening, that's when I'm totally engaged. And I always say to people in workshops, look, if somebody is honestly expressing himself or herself in the human feelings, we are not judging. Did you ever realize we are not judging? We are easily judgmental. And it's so hard to not judge. It's actually the highest wisdom we have, the non judgmental intelligence. And it's so hard sometimes to practice it. But when somebody is talking or sharing his or her truth, there seems to be like a common ground of understanding. Um, Going back to the awakening process, uh, just to get clear, because I know only two people who seemingly are awake. One is Eckhart Tolle, who says he's awake, and it feels like, and most of us know him, a spiritual teacher who comes from Germany actually, and then went to Canada and to America. And he does beautiful work from the power of now. And then there is my mentor from A Course in Miracles, who says, and he seems to be very awake because he's extremely serene, extremely funny, and also talks from a very different perspective sometimes. Now, I was never awake. I might have split seconds of getting it, and then they're slipping away again. Or another teacher I have interviewed, he said it's like you are a river, and outside of the river you have experiences. So you are a river, and you still deal with life. So he would explain it more in this metaphor of there's always this river running through you, and you see life from that river suddenly in such beauty and such love while you experience life, but you see it from this awakened river. Now that was very abstract to me, and I tried at one point. I was really, and my mentor said, "Well, you're so shortly before awakening." Now that never occurred to me that one day I could be awakened, and that was never in my plan. But then I was, of course, hooked. I said, "Oh wow, how would it feel?" And for me, I have let it go and said, "Okay, you're having a human experience." And you have split seconds and moments that feel really clear and pure and connected, especially with people, especially with wonderful people like you. What is it for you?
Well, it's actually it's not much difference what you say or what your teachers say. You know, in fact, we are all enlightened beings. We just have forgotten it, and that's the truth. And you know, enlightenment is nothing that you carry kind of in front of you, like a carrot in front of your mouth. No, it is what you are or who you are. And that's basically the journey when you take your first breath coming into this earth. It's unwinding back to this who you are, if you are interested in that, or if that's basically also your life purpose. Not everybody has that also in this life. And of course, we are human beings and we are having a human experience, and that also evolves duties and we have things to do. So clearly, um, and by the way, also the quality, for some people it is the quality of silence, for other people it is the quality of joy, for others the quality of love that is more in the foreground. So it differs also how people experience that. Of course, in our modern day life, and as we live life, and as because we are not like rishis in the Himalayas and have no
Mm.
distraction at all, um, silence, or yeah, the silence is sometimes more in the foreground and more in the background. Yet it is something we can always refer to, and there is no kind of contest or something in that. You know, you are there and you are there, and this is just all old old belief
Mm.
structure. The fact, yeah,
No,
continue.
no, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
The way how one of my teachers, Christian Meyer, has
Mhm.
always described it, and I can very much relate to that. It basically, there is this horizontal line that starts with our first breath and ends with our last breath, and where all this is our timeline. So this is really happening in time and space. And then there is the horizontal line, which is the infinite, where time and space does not exist. And we are with our body, we are we are in the we are in the middle, we are experience, we are both, and that's just something to acknowledge. We work our things through the processes that happens in our life, and we have to work, through the things that, childhood or whatever, and through the collective programming. And yet, um, there's always something to discover that is there, that is who you are, and that never fades. And it's just to remember.
When I, as I said, I just awakening didn't occur to me before my mentor didn't
Mm.
explain it to me. But to me, it felt sometimes I felt pushed, but I easily feel pressured. So that was is nothing new to me. And it came to a point where I felt really pushed or pressured to, just wake up. Just it's so clear. And you're reading A Course in Miracles, which is all about waking up to the love, to the presence of love that is within and around us. And actually, everybody, all the good teachers are talking about the same thing in just different forms.
Mm.
And at one point, I would just be very judgmental. I would say to myself, gosh, you're here again having those tantrums. And I can get still very angry. I mean, am very impulsive and passionate, a fire woman, a wild woman. So I go through all those emotions, but I also have a big heart and I can be very gentle, but it's all of it. It's just the whole thing, the whole human spectrum. It's just right there. And I have a partner who really keeps me down to earth. Because I printed one of my sorry, yeah, because he's so funny. Sometimes I just printed, the information I got from you to read through it and sit quietly on my chair. And I went to my printer and he was sitting next to it at the computer. And I said, "Oh, she's going to be a very interesting talk guest, and she is this and this, and she's awakened." he said, "Oh, I just woke up too." I was like,
Yeah, I mean, this is
and that's him. I mean, I said always, if you awaken, just get a Michael, and he will get you down to earth right in a second.
yeah, it's just
Yes.
another label. It's as I said, it's and I understand completely what you're saying, because actually I did not have any clue for whatever it is. Again, these things happen in split of a seconds, and this is also what people
Mm.
experienced who had, for example, near death experiences. And it's but it's nothing to kind of carry as a label or something. Yeah, that's
No, no,
that's
I
how
understand what you
spiritual
mean. Yes.
this is how spiritualism also easily falls in the trap of
Hmm.
the same kind of thing. We have to achieve something. If you don't do that and that, we are not anything. And yet this is all just old world. You are already perfect.
No, I so get it, and I get it from a different point because the spiritual ego is
Mm,
can be really big,
mm,
and in the name of spirituality, or in the name of this is the guidance, or I'm in service of, there's a lot of bullshit happening. I have to say it
exactly.
this way,
Mm,
and we have been talking about this also in our WhatsApp messages.
mm,
Um, and I think it is so important to understand that and hear that and not bypass anything. I just, from my experience, I just feel like flowing in and out. I have a tantrum, or I wake up, I had a bad nightmare, or I fears running through my bones about something. And the way how I get back into, home, or in the place, sacred place, or in a calmer place goes much easier and quicker. And it can be that I feel really bad for a few hours, but then it can also happen that I close the day and complete the day very peaceful, and always give myself this moment and this frame of, okay, you have had a bad day or a bad few hours, and now go back into the sacred space, or into insight, into a calmer place, and joy can come up again. So I see it like an in and out flow. I'm in the stream, or I'm out the stream, and then the stream is getting stronger and longer, and it feels like an anchor, it feels like ever present. And that has changed. That's how I experience it.
may I say something to that?
Yes,
Which
please.
which immediately occurs is like, because that also happens very easily with many, many, many people, that we judge our feelings, and we also judge here, this is
Hmm.
good and this is bad.
Hmm.
And feelings like fear or anger, we don't want these, so we put them away, or if we have them, this is not good. Feelings are actually a doorway to come closer to ourselves and to the underlying deeper experiences. And it is a complete, don't you think I'm going through the same things as I'm a human person? I have the same. I have my fears, and I have my I can be angry as I can be whatsoever. It's just I allow myself, and that does not even that does not always mean to act them out, but I just allow also my feelings to be there, and allow myself the experience what happens if, for example, anger just can be there as a pure feeling without a story. That's important. And then what you experience, then it can lead you directly to a deeper silence. And that's a very, very crucial thing, to be
Absolutely.
awakened, or um, I don't like even to use this because, as I said, but it does not mean to be always on top of things, or
Mm.
that's just simply not true. But you are changing the perspective,
Mm.
or yeah, find your find a different way to go through your human body experience.
I think that's so beautiful what you say, and it took a long time for me until I started to, embrace the feelings more, because it is taught sometimes so differently. Or you have spiritual teachers who feel or seem to be always so peaceful, and that's not the truth, and it's absolutely not the truth. And that's why I believe in the power of honesty. I really always say how things really are. um, I'll put my finger there, because I think actually I love this sentence, we all walk each other home. I
Mm.
made out of it, we just walk each other home. Because I think it is so much better if we know the truth about each other, and also the feelings that don't feel comfortable, that makes us feeling vulnerable, or out of the comfort zone, to share them, because others have them too. And I remember that I wrote this short book, On My Knees to Paradise, in 7 days. And I really wrote it in 7 days. And it's purely a book sharing experiences and telling stories and making them funny and tearful and everything, just, pure life. And I put it on the market, and then I put it on Facebook, but I never expected then a lot of friends would say, "Oh, I have to buy it." And I got like in such a shame reaction, like, "Oh gosh, don't buy this book. No, I won't have any friends anymore. Oh gosh, no, please." This is not why I was posting it. I found the graphics of the book design so beautiful that Michael had done. So I just wanted to show that. And I think there's so much also when I work with people, and extremely with business people, there's such a way of not expressing the truth and not showing who I am. And, it's so far away from who they are sometimes, and with different reactions. And my reaction is always the same. So I can really see it. It's a shame reaction. I'm always incredibly shameful. But now, where you say this, I really like this. You feel the feeling without the story. Now I know it. Now shame is sometimes in the front of my car. Very often it's in the back of my car. I always say, yeah, you can rumble. Don't even dare to take my GPS. Don't even dare to take the wheel of my car. So now it's more playful. It is not so heavy, and I don't feel imprisoned by it. But that doesn't mean that those feelings are not occurring. Um, and sometimes I talk with it. So this is how I feel it. What is it for you when you go through your daily life and you get angry or you get emotional? What kind of reactions come forward, and then you see them and you don't go into the story?
Well, there is a very, very crucial thing, and that is as human beings, um, our possibility of choice. And there is this, I don't know if I have it now in mind completely correctly, but there's this beautiful quote of Viktor Frankl, who says, "Between trigger and reaction, there is a space. And within
Mm.
this space lies our freedom to choose, basically, or the freedom for choice. And we can always come back to truth. And so this space in between, sometimes we get angry, really angry on the spot. And it's just a different quality to be reactive, or to give yourself a little bit space, or put a little bit space between you and the situation, to to find your own peace again. And then, as we are human beings, it does not mean all this love and light and
Hmm.
bubble always. Yet you can come from a different understanding and have an approach that is not destructive, or maybe destructive, or causing separation. But maybe it's another way to say what you have to say, yet um, in a communication and in a connection with, for example, the other person. And that's different. And these are these little things that can change the quality of our togetherness as a whole. This is where it all starts. These are the little secrets of, you want to stop a war and you go
Hmm.
demonstrating. For me, all this, it really starts with that. If we can't keep peace, or try to, establish a different way of communicating and connecting with each other, that's where it all starts, in the smallest nucleus, not out there.
I wrote this quote down from Viktor Frankl. I really want to repeat it again for our listeners, because I think it is so valuable. Between trigger and reaction, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Mm.
between trigger and reaction is space.
Is a
Means this
space.
is the space, meaning you have the freedom of choice. Well,
It,
that wasn't right.
between trigger and reaction, there's a space, and in this space, or in this space, lies our freedom, and the freedom of choice. Or you have to look it up. It's a little bit more complex, but that's basically what he's saying. Between
Hmm.
trigger and reaction, there's a space, and in that space lies our freedom, and to make a choice, which is, to choose. I always have this brilliant, as many of us have, like this brilliant example of Nelson Mandela. I mean, he was locked in prison for all these years, 27 years, and he walked out and he was shaking the hands of his enemies. How can you do that?
Mm.
This is it.
Mm. I think that's kind of superhuman. That is a real big transformation. And talking about transformation again, a lot of people are transforming right now, and
Mm,
they are going through painful experiences or deep fears that are coming up. And this is, I always say, it's not about Corona; it's about the whole transformation that is happening globally. And Corona is the effect, but it's not the cause. It's just a lot of stuff that has been suppressed. It's coming up on all different levels, and we can face it or we can run away from it.
mm,
I know that before my spiritual journey started, and it would be lovely to hear your one, I was on the brink of a TV career, and it was just a breakthrough. It was just, I had worked hard for it and took all the bravery. And it started minor, not minor, but I had chicken pox only in my face. And I was just starting to have a big show for camera. So we had to stop the production. Then the second time I had a treatment for my teeth, and that didn't go well. So my face was blue and red. So I couldn't go to another production. But then came, the firework. I would fall flat on my face, having a bike accident, and my face was completely destroyed. So
mm,
I wasn't involved in psychology or spirituality at all. I think I was just a really passionate person, but I had definitely a career in mind, and definitely television and radio was one of them, or was one in my mind. So when that happened, I had no choice. I was just like, wow, this is big. And I could feel that. From the minute I could feel I need to look, look into that. So I stopped everything. It was not possible anyway. And when I made that decision to leave the career and travel and work with Native Americans and look for answers and definitely heal, because I was just really in a lot of pain. And that's when my face healed like a miracle, and you couldn't see anything in my face, nothing has left. And doctors would say it's a miracle, but I was in I was in panic, I was in terror. I cannot even say this. It was so strange what was happening. And I know that some people are going through the same situation and feelings right now. How did it come for you before you went on an inward journey?
um yeah, that's for everybody, it's different. Unfortunately, for many people, suffering, this is also what Eckhart Tolle says, by the way, that suffering is a gateway basically to it is unnecessary, but it is a gateway to a deeper spiritual journey and experience. For me, as I said, I went in 2003. I went to India for 3 months, and I started there with yoga and meditation. It's the first time I came in contact with meditation. I did not even hear about that before. And then I came back, and I had in an art installation that was of pure light, I had this spontaneous awakening. And then that really, from that moment, my life, that was basically, it was, I can't describe it, because different than I did before. Like, I was like, oh my God. Yeah, in the meditation, I kind of understood I am not my thoughts, and I was practicing meditation, but I was really starting with that in 2003. But that moment was fuck.
Hmm.
It just all fell away. And with that is also what many people experience is all that was these values that for example, you have a will, you set yourself a goal. I was so clear, you have goals and you take the steps to achieve this goal. This is really
Mm.
how our world is designed. These kind of things, they just all fall away. So I was still in the museum, and I was keeping working in the museum until 2007. But within this period, already, my process started with, because the three most important people in my life died within 18 months, and that was like in different ways, suddenly, through cancer and all of this. So that brought these aspect of yeah, deep losses and death, and what who are, again, always this question, who are we, where are we going, where are we coming from? And then, more and more added also my physical state. And that was in 2007 when I also said, and it was also like you, I was basically at the, yeah, it was a breaking point in my career, and I just could have go
Mm.
through. And I decided, no, I have to figure first a few things out in my life. And also, I found out for myself that I have been so close. I had like a concrete wall around my feelings and my heart. I was just functioning through the mind and the ideas I had about myself and how one has to function in this world, which, comes from our education, our society, and all these kind of things, or our upbringing also. And I really had no idea, like, also on a, who who is this Tina? What does she
Mm.
really want? What is she feeling? I was like, there is this beautiful sculpture by Michelangelo. It's in Florence, and it's called, um, actually it's called Slaves. But you see basically a block of marble, and how he has he sculptured beautiful individuals out of it. They are really
Mm.
coming out of a concrete marble stone, and you can still see the stone, but the beautiful person is emerging out of it. But this
Mm.
is how it feels. We are all coming. If we get on this journey, we are peeling like an onion, layer by layer, and that.
Absolutely. I see it with talking again to the people and who are listening and going through this deep transformational process. A girlfriend of mine, I do have spiritual friends and dancer friends, and the dancer friends, because I'm dancing a lot, are usually not on a journey to look deeper. But now, because of the whole transformational process globally, some of them are just having to, and things happen in their life that their plans are not working out. So there's a broken open. That's what I see. And I can see that my girlfriend is really, really upset about it, and nothing works. And I have so much compassion because I know how it feels. And when we meet, I say sometimes, I don't see what's not working in you. I see an amazing woman who comes
Mm,
out of this. And now you arrive. Now you are there. Before, she was always in a great mood. She always was laughing, cheering everything up. Um, it was very, very exhausting when you know that that was a shell of her. That was not the truth of her,
mm,
because she would play it, and that was her way of coping with life. And some people who are hearing this might just nod their head and, yeah, yes, that's my way too, or I have been that way too. But now, where she's broken open, it's so much more easy to talk with her. She's so real, she's so there, and she has her big wishes of being a mom and without a father. And her dream is, of course, feeding a partner, but everything is just breaking apart right now, so nothing works. And I think there are people out there who experience the same. And what we both can say, it's there is a good, not end to it, but there is a good passage to it. It looks heavy and it looks dark right now, but it's not somebody who sees it from the outside, who has gone through the process like we have, or the starting
mm,
process. I think you have the same. I immediately see the beauty. I don't see what's crashing. I see the beauty. And I have a kind of funny story. I would work with a big company, and I had worked with so many men. And I said, I'm only working with women for the next year, so please don't send me men. And I was on stage and we were presenting our programs. And then a man came to me and said, one of the typical, nice, typical managers, and he said, would you take a man too? Because you just said you only take women. I said, okay, honestly speaking, are you having a crisis in your relationship? Is one of your kids has something or is turbulent or is something happening? Do you have a breakdown? Do you feel almost burnt out in your work? And I was smiling, I was laughing, because this is sometimes the way how you shake them. And he laughed and smiled. I said, honestly speaking, if you don't feel that someone in you is pulling you and you feel really cold or kind of, I'm done with this. I'm not the person to talk to. I will not work with you on a glamorous career right now and make it more glamorous. I will work with you more on the truth. So from there, we can see how you become a wonderful leader. And that intrigued him. And it was a wonderful work we did together. But I'm very, very honest when people come to me and they come in the frame of, oh, yeah, let's transform leadership. Let's dive into, yeah, and then you have the next purpose-driven leadership and the
Mhm.
purpose-driven business culture, and you feel like, is this the next bullshit thing on the shelf you're presenting? And I can get very straightforward, like I do now, because it is very hard for me then to be very compassionate and patient. I said, no, 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 this is not what I'm doing, at least. Um, Talking about sensitive leadership, talking about transformational leadership, which leads to sensitive leadership, which is a program that you have come up with in our lockdown situation, which was for sure also part transformational for you. What is it about?
Um, well, the high sensitivity is a quality that is many, many more people are experiencing. And as you described before, intuition is people having deeper connections to their intuition. Sensitivity is getting stronger because the frequency on earth we are living in, it is rising as a general phenomenon we all have to cope with. Some are more aware of it, like the sensitive people. Others maybe still don't feel it even yet. That is something that is happening in this process right now, and it's measurable also scientifically with the Schumann resonance, as probably many of
Mhm,
your
mhm,
listeners know. And the sensitive leadership program, there's one component that is very crucial. High sensitivity can really be a superpower because
mhm,
whatever way you perceive things, like either you hear, you see, you feel, you have a heightened knowledge of things, like as you just know, you see through the things in a very as you just say, you see the beauty of your friend, you see the depth of her qualities, you see things she can't even, or she's not aware of herself right now. And that's really a superpower. Yet many sensitive people, or also empaths, can feel very drained because they feel the energy of the person walking in front of her without even knowing that person. And that's also a truth. So what I have found out, because I am high sensitive and widely open and an empath, that that was a very, very interesting thing for me. Coming back to feeling and getting to know myself, if someone would tell me, as a let's put it like that, as a high sensitive person, you have the feeling, oh my god, I'm already feeling so much and I feel everything, and I want my silence. I don't want to
mhm,
engage with the world. So many of the high sensitive people are holding back. They are holding back their greatness. They are not appearing so much. They are not visible. And yet they have so much to give to the world, and they are really needed right now. and
mhm,
and but if you feel like so much going on outside, it does not necessarily mean that you feel and you are super connected to yourself. And so it is what's happening in the sensitive leadership is there are so many layers. It's really getting yourself taking away all the things that are standing in your own way of really being there, being visible, standing in your power, and yet using that power, being aware of your energies, how to transform and direct energies, and really to make this practical and what it means. Like, so many, as you said also before, so many, there are people who are awakened and this and that, and so much is talked about, and everybody's giving their quotes, and new age spiritualism everywhere. But what does it really mean to live and embody oneness and to come from that point and all of that? So basically it's like what I have put together in all my journey, and really honoring all parts, like the human being that we are, especially also working with feelings, and of course the deeper experiences of who we are in truth, and honoring and embodying that with it's specially designed for sensitives and empaths to really yeah.
Yes, I love it so much what you're saying. If I would have known this 10 years ago, I would have saved myself from so much suffering, because I am a high sensitive woman. And again, my predominant reaction is shame. So then I was also
Mm,
always afraid I'm too complicated.
mm,
And my mother has raised me that way. So there's a wound. Oh, she's so complicated. Oh, Janine again. So then Janine, highly sensitive, feels everything. Then, this is too
mm,
loud and too noisy. And I would just get so much in pain on my body when things got too noisy. London was sometimes really hard to hold the space for because of the noise all around me. So there was a lot of pretending or performing that I wouldn't
mm,
appear as, oh, she isn't a strong woman. She's such, then in the business world where I sustained myself financially, there I had to perform.
mm,
And it was such a long journey. I mean, as a human, it's a blink of an eye, but as a human, it was a long learning to let go of the shame, to stand strong in this and make it my fortune. That took so many years. I can see it
mm,
was my business partner, was actually my ex-husband. We are both sensitives. And I can see that we know each other right away. And I immediately say to him, okay, let's have some calm time or quiet time, or let's feel into that. So how we can take care of ourselves. I think that is very important to know that you take care of yourself, that you're more an introvert type with social qualities maybe. That was very important, and that I don't feel ashamed, that I cannot socialize all the time, that I do need my downtimes. So all those trigger points that I felt I'm not enough, I'm
mm,
less, I'm not as strong, I'm not as, particularly in the business world, I'm not fitting in the box. Then, as you described it so beautifully in your website, you sail between two worlds. For one world, you're not esoterical enough, and for the other world, in your case, you're not, science driven enough. And I wasn't the business type. I wouldn't fit in the business box. Um, that was very long journey and very painful. And I think if you have learned to cope with that and deal with that and see it as your fortune and have mastered that, that is so important to give further to other people. Because as you said, we so need it at this point in time. Um, but it's so important, particularly for women, particularly if you're in a leadership position, not just learning to lead yourself first, but leading other people, to know that this is a strength and to stand strong and tall in that, um, and don't fall back and don't give up on it. I think that is very, very important. Like when I do big workshops or group sessions now, and I have other people coming in and joining, I know this quality, and I will say it. And before, I would just, after a while, I would let it go. I wouldn't stand strong. I wouldn't stand up for it. I would just go with a few very harsh, judgmental things I would hear from other men. And I would feel ashamed again. So I would just push it away. And learning to not push it away, to not be aggressive about it, but say, no, we stick to it because I exactly feel that this is right or this is not the way to go. And there was one minor situation with my partner. Um, I felt in the middle of a very big workshop with 110 people. This is not going the right way. This goes really wrong. And we had a plan, we had a program. And I said to him, we need to drop it. We need to completely let go of our program for the rest of our day.
Mm.
And in his reaction, he gets manipulative, or, all our reactions when we're getting in fear. So before I would think, or I would feel, I'm small, I cannot do this. But there I didn't. I said to him, no, 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 you have to trust me. I know this. So here I really trusted the good strengths of this capacity. And then he freaked out because for him, not being in control, to not follow a program was really hard.
Mm.
And I went away and just grabbed something to eat because it was lunchtime, and lunchtime we need to, drop it. And I saw him, and he was sitting there like a little boy. And I went to him and I smiled. I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Peter." I said, "No, no, no. Who are you? God?" He said, "Yes, yes, yes. Trust me, trust me." And it was the best workshops, events we ever
Yeah.
did, because we were both so in the moment. And I was so
Yeah.
proud of him.
Mm.
And it still makes me emotional. It was so good. And I think this is the strength that we can bring in. But we need to have a network. We need to have people who remind us. We
Mm.
need to have people like you. And this is why I'm so happy to talk to you. And I know we're exceeding our time and I'm talking so much, but I'm so passionate about promoting this because I think it is so good. And it is so important for people to know this, to stand up and come together and go into the spotlight where we can do something in the world that will bring a positive change. Now, when this is broadcasted, or you are already in the first week of your program, but you told me it's in English and German and people can still join. Is that possible?
Of course. I mean, we have our opening calls on Friday in Germany on the 25th and in English on the 26th of September, and basically start with the course officially in the week after with our weekly calls. So anybody is welcome to join in the first week if you still feel the calling, and you just you feel it. I mean, it's and yeah, please come and join.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to join myself. There's so much wonderful and valuable things that I will be reminded of, which is really great. So thank you so much. 47 minutes was like a blink of an eye talking with you. I know it's going to be hard, but I didn't know that's going to be so hard. And I just say this has to be continued. I mean, it has to be continued. I don't know what form, but let's definitely go into inward and feel into our guidance how it's going to be continued. Thank you so much. That was Tina Guthknecht in New York. Thank you for really and bravely being yourself and being you. That was New Generation Women. And that was me, Janine in Munich. The listeners, wherever you are, have a soulful, peaceful rest of your day. I say good night. Goeienacht, slaap lekker. In Dutch, bonsoir. Hopefully talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.